catching that. Okay, so now it's recording on Zoom as well. So now let me go back to sharing. Okay. So here's what we know so far. And this I sent out in an email, I think earlier this week or last week. I guess it's the beginning of the week, last week. And so the SSS APR is open and closes on December 6th. And then our next one to expect is Upward Bound and Upward Bound Math Science in December. And all that the website says is coming in. So we have no idea when in December, or for those other ones in January and February, when in the month, and for how long they'll be open. But if SSS is an example, it would be open for about a month. So I'm checking the websites regularly. As soon as I see anything come up, I will let you all know. But that is the same for Talent Search, EOC, and McNair as well. So there's just no additional information. They finally updated it to not show last year's dates, but all it says is coming in that month. So now jumping into the APR. So one of the things that has changed this year is the requirements to no longer have a paper copy to sign at the end of completing your APR, but now everybody has to go into login.gov and complete their signature that way. So I just want to make sure everybody has a login.gov account. And in addition to you having a login.gov account, your certifying official also needs to have a login, as well as your data entry person, but often you are also listed as the data entry person. So just make sure everybody has a login, and in order to connect your certifying official to your grant, you need to go in and make sure that the person you want to be the certifying official is listed as the certifying official for your grant. And so I know that was the new component for this year. And there is a guide available. And so it goes through the user guide for how to get that all set up and what you need to do. So, and I can send out these slides later just so you have it, or I can create a resource guide just based off the links. Any questions about this new login.gov, or anybody having issues with getting that part figured out, who your certifying official is on your campus or institution?
Hey, Robin. So I got the guide and I was going through our certifying official will be our board director who supervises me. But as I was walking through the steps, I get this message that says they don't recognize my email address. I can log in the G5 system, and I do have a login.gov account. Am I getting that message that my email isn't recognized because I'm going in too early?
That's what I'm wondering. Has anybody else had that issue?
Okay.
What program are you with?
I'm
Talent
with Talent Search.
It might be that might be the reason.
But for you SSS people, did you go in and clarify the certifying official? Because I know that webinar happened before SSS opened, and I thought they were encouraging everybody to go in and get that part updated in advance.
Yeah, but you can only do so much. So your certifying official can kind of create an account, but you have to verify them once the APR opens.
Okay, so you're doing the verification once it opens. Is that the step you were talking about, Carl?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Any other questions about the login.gov or figuring out who your certifying official is on your campus? Great. Okay. So, the
And I
next,
just really quick,
Yes.
sorry to follow up, just so that people are clear on that. Your certifying official does have to do some sort of response or something after you verify them. So don't do it at the last minute. That's the first thing you should do.
thank you so much, Michelle, for clarifying that. And I didn't add it to the slide, but it also, back when we had the paper copy, you had a certain amount of days to be able to complete it, to get it signed after you submitted your APR. And I think, Michelle, you can clarify, I think it's at 2 days right now, and it's going to go away to 0 days moving forward. So just try and plan on 0 days so that you don't learn short-term way. So just
Yeah,
plan
I don't know
to,
that 100%. I'd have to check, but that
Okay.
sounds right. It's not 5
I
anymore.
know that, yeah, I know it's not the 5 days. I think maybe they gave some little bit of leniency this year, but that moving forward, there would not be that. So to make sure your certifying official is aligned with you, and if you aren't submitting your APR till the very last day of submission requirement, to make sure they are on board to get in there and sign as well. But hopefully you're able to submit with some more cushion, so there isn't that level of last minute panic. Any other questions now with Michelle's additional comments and my little follow-up there? Okay. So then I was just wanting to reiterate for everybody that another step is to go into the Department of Ed APR portal. And at this point, only the SSS folks can get in there. And it has been glitching, so that's always fun to hear. And I think some of our Oregon people experienced that. I think maybe Kim experienced that yesterday. I was in another webinar about the talent search APR, and they were also referencing other SSS colleagues that were having that same issue. So, Kim, I think it sounds like you were able to get in later in the day and then it was working.
Yeah. And I was able to download the spreadsheet.
Last year's file.
Yeah. So
wonderful. Okay, good. Great. Great news.
That's also a good thing to do after you certify your official.
Okay, so at this point, only SSS can do this, but once you're able to get in, it sounds like go in and get that certifying official confirmed in there. And then for SSS, download last year's spreadsheet. For those of you in the other programs, is that also the same process that you do? Do you go in? No. I was looking at Kim because I know she's so frustrated with how different SSS is from Talent Search. So it sounds like you don't have a spreadsheet because you're not tracking all your students individually in that same way. So that makes sense. For those in pre-college, is there anything that you download out of Department of Ed before you go through and do your stuff? It didn't seem like it in the webinar I was listening to, but I wasn't sure. Okay. So I just going to the site, I took a screenshot of it, but just so you know, when you get there, it gives you the little warning first, and then you just click into accept. And then this is where you would log in. This is also the page where you can come to see as they update the TBD here. But then we can also go into your specific pages, which I kind of skipped over. Let me go back just so you can see what we're looking at. So I'll go into SSS last because that's all populated and prettier looking. But for the ones that are coming up, what I'm doing is I'm going to your individual program page, and then I'm going over here on the right-hand side is APR, and that is where we're finding the information. So at this point, they don't have anything for the new upcoming APR, and that's the same for all of the other programs. But if we go back and click on SSS, that one looks different because now it's populated with all of the information. So in addition to the text documents, it also has the APR website that we just went to, the opening and closing dates of the site, help desk, and then your access for your program specialist in case you didn't know who that was. And so within here, there's all these different documents, and we'll get to that later, but they're all very important. Okay, so let me skip forward again. So now, let's see, I think, any other questions about the Department of Ed APR portal? And for the SSS folks, have you all been able to get in there and download last year's file? I hate that I can't see you all.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so some examples of what to expect. So for those of you who are not in SSS, these are just going to be the SSS examples for right now because we don't have access to the others, but it's going back to that same page that we were just at, which is looking at these different specific documents. So this one is the note to the project director. So be sure to go through and read through all of this. Make sure you're getting all of these little steps taken care of. They're all important. And so the note will be similar to what you get in the pre-college, but there might be something different as well. Like your prior experience point years will be different and things like that. And then there's the initial instruction section, at least with SSS, where it gives you a whole bunch of information, some scenarios. It's reminding you of what gets populated and what you get to enter, and then different definitions, and it goes through. There's so much information in here. For SSS, it's letting you know what you cannot change, what you could change if you had to, and then what to change unless they're a prior year participant or something. Again, just more definitions, all very helpful stuff that you want to take the time and really understand. And these scenarios are always not helpful for the most part. I feel like they just complicate things. But then with SSS anyway, then this is really, to me, the little APR Bible where it goes through all of the fields step by step with all of your options. And if you're using Student Access, Blumen or Lakai, which I think most all of you are, that they have it all populated exactly the same so that you don't have to worry about entering something that's different than what is in the APR. Any questions about these specific documents? I know when I was on the SSS director Facebook, somebody kept asking questions and they're like, I feel like I should know this stuff. And it's because they had not pulled this document that had all those options. So they were so thrown off with the definitions and options for things. So make sure you're utilizing all those. And then on that same page, just a reminder that there's also the guides that you can reference for the login.gov, for the APR portal, for the signature part of the APR portal, and then additional questions. So please keep all of that in mind. And then just a reminder about National Student Clearinghouse. So it is now offered through OTA for free. So we have upcoming bulk uploads. We've done one so far at the end of October. And so we'll be doing another one at the end of this month and then again at the beginning of January. We may have to extend that now that we have a little bit of a better sense of when to expect your APRs to actually open so that you're getting all your most up-to-date data. But we do offer that for free, both the bulk uploads or you can access your own individual lookup. And that is through Matt and I. And the only exciting part to that is that since we started using National Student Clearinghouse, they've gone to a two-step verification. So when you want to utilize it and we give you the account login, it then emails Matt to verify. And so Matt needs a heads up as to who is wanting access because it doesn't say who's making the request. So if you're going to utilize that, you just need to give Matt a heads up before you try logging in, so that when he gets that request, he can then get that code to you. Does that make sense for the OTA side of National Student Clearinghouse and your options? Okay, great. And then a lot of institutions and organizations also have their own National Student Clearinghouse account, so you don't need to utilize OTA. But for those that had trouble accessing it through their institution, OTA went ahead and got an account as well, so that we could help support getting all that information for you in time for the APR and throughout the year if you need it at other times as well. Any other questions about utilizing National Student Clearinghouse, or does anybody want to share their experience of using the bulk upload versus the individual lookup? I know some staff prefer one method over the other.
When you do the bulk upload, I had difficulty when I was doing talent search. It would just miss some students. So I just, I would just end up doing it manually and go student by student by student. Because when I would do the bulk upload, I wouldn't hit our number, that we were supposed to be at. And then when I would do it, I don't know what the difference was, but when I do it individually, I'd actually find the student. So it was just easier to do it individually, I found, at least.
Okay. Nice. I mean, I guess you could always try and do a bulk upload, and then for the ones that didn't pull up that you were expecting, being able to go back through and do the individual.
The other thing I found too is that it was a much more accurate when we were using social security numbers. And when we used to require social security numbers, and then now that we can't require that and we're just using birth dates, I find it to be much less accurate.
Right.
I mean,
names get spelled differently and all the different things that happen.
Yeah.
Can you request access to that at your institution?
The social security numbers?
Yeah, I can see ours.
Apparently Kim did. I didn't do that when I was at SOU.
No, I was talking about when I was at Project Youth Plus, we used to require a social security number on the application.
No, but I mean,
back in the old days.
Are you needing a social security number now?
No, I was just sharing my talent certificate.
Oh, got you.
Are institutions still collecting social security numbers? Is that something they need for financial aid?
Ours does it.
Ours just.
I mean, I don't for our application anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, it just hadn't even occurred to me to ask for access to that, but maybe they keep it just with minimal people being able to access it, and you're one of the lucky ones. Okay, so before we get into the meat of asking questions and troubleshooting between each other, I just wanted to go over some resources that are available. And so, like I shared at the beginning, I'm happy to try and troubleshoot with anybody. Kim is making me most excited when I get a text from her asking a question, because I'm like, oh my God, let me delve back in. So exciting. But really, I'm available to all of you for that same purpose. And even if it's outside of SSS, I'm attending all of these webinars. I'm asking questions. I'm trying to get as proficient as I can in understanding what you collect for the pre-college. And so I'm happy to assist or troubleshoot or reach out to networks to get answers for you. So feel free to reach out. And then Nosotros Education Center, based out of Texas, also offers free unpacking the APR webinars for each of the programs. And so I wanted to present you all with that access as well. They also offer paid services to help answer specific APR questions for you. But they do offer these webinars for free. So I wanted to make sure to give you access to all of that. So for Upward Bound, McNair, and EOC, they're upcoming. Oh, I gave a bonus in for in. But December and November, upcoming Upward Bound, McNair, and EOC. And so you can just register. I'm going to go to the site just so you can see. So for those ones, you can see you can still register for the upcoming webinars. I didn't include the Veterans Upward Bound because we don't have any in our state yet. But these other ones are upcoming. So if you are wanting to register, they are free to register, and they go for an hour and a half. So they have plenty of time to do Q&A so you can get all your questions answered as well. Any questions about those ones? Okay. So Talent Search has had theirs. And so I've attached the recording as well as the passcode to be able to watch the recording. And then they also provide a Google Drive with resources. So since the Talent Search APR has not opened, they based this fully on last year's APR, but there has been no indication that things are going to be changing for this APR. So they go through it with a fresh set of eyes and are just recorded it, but it is information based off the 22-23 APR directions. So, but that is also available to you. And let's see. Oh, I must have the SSS one further down. So let me see. Yep, there's SSS. Okay, so SSS has already happened as well. So we have the webinar link with the passcode, and then they also provided the Google Drive with additional information. The day they were holding their SSS webinar was the same day that the information came out from the Department of Ed for this year. So they were prepared for their presentation based off 22-23, but because nothing really changed for 23-24, it all still flows. There were no new fields added or anything like that. So it should still be pretty straightforward and can be helpful. The way that they do this Zoom recording is for all of them is that they have the transcript on the side that you can easily reference. And then they also have summaries with highlights where you can hit the video clips to get right to that point. So hopefully these different resources will be helpful for you. With prior experience points, I think I didn't even get it filled in now that I'm thinking about it. I got sidetracked doing other things. Yep, look at that. I got SSS, and then we've got another language going throughout the rest of it. So, so SSS, we are in the final year for points. So due to COVID, the Department of Ed said the best 2 out of 3 of those mid-years. So out of 21-22, 22-23, and 23-24. So some of you have already met your max points based off 21-22 and 22-23. But if you're still needing to reach your max points, you've got a chance with this 23-24 APR. With these other ones, I'll go in and plug in the years. But for Talent Search, you are in one of your prior experience point years as well. I think everyone is, except everybody is, because Upward Bound's not in their first year right now either, right? Okay, so this language means yes, it's a relevant year for prior experience points. And then just a reminder that your student access, Bloom and Lakai, or whatever else you're using, can also help you determine your prior experience points. So they have that special APR screen that will help guide you through all of that. Any questions about the prior experience points? Okay. So this is the meat of it. This is where I was wanting us to spend our time, was to ask questions, to troubleshoot, to share with each other about what's coming up for you or any field that you're needing to understand. I know sometimes when I get so deep in, then I just have like APR brain and I can't get myself back out to think clearly about something. Because you just start going down the rabbit hole because some of their things don't make sense from one field to the next. And so that is now, I'm just gonna stop sharing so we can see each other. What is coming up as you're working? Because even if it's not SSS, I know you all are working on your APR and gathering all that data from this past year. What are some things that might be coming up?
Well, something that's been really helpful, and for those of you who are Bloomin users, they have this little button verify data, which is super helpful in finding any inconsistencies in your data or anything that's missing. So definitely use that and use it often. One of the things Robin, I don't know if you were on the call with Bloomin when they were talking about, you don't just have to use the verify data button when you're doing your APR, you can use it throughout the year, like sort of spot check yourself so that by the time you get to the APR time, you're everything's already been verified, everything's ready to go. And so that's definitely something I'm going to be doing moving forward, is making sure that I utilize that tool, because that it's going to make my life so much easier this time next year.
Thanks, Kim. That's a good point. Some of the fields I feel like we can't do until the end, but there's definitely ones that, depending on what their participant status is, makes a huge difference. Come on, hit me with a question. I'm so excited to get together with you about this.
Do any of you guys ever have issues with the 99s?
Oh, like what kind of issue?
So they're the only ones that are kicking back errors to me for the data that's filled out in the year sheet.
Are they just prior year participants not enrolled?
That's what I've put them down as, and it's kicking it back at me. Like some of these haven't been enrolled since 2015. Or am I the only lucky one?
You might be the only lucky. I mean, if it's kicking it back, is it saying which fields aren't aligning?
You shouldn't have anybody from 2015 on your rolls.
Oh, I got a couple. I got one from 2013.
So
These are just
They're a
students that are
99
still,
status.
well, then that's probably why they're kicking back if
Yeah,
they're,
so I did that today with Bloomin online. So I just called and they helped me. I had some 2015, 2016 students still on, and so they helped me do like a quick change wizard and selected there was 42 students that were out of the realm of the 6 years. And so they helped me get them out of my list. So
Oh, I spent hours on the phone with SA last year.
uh,
And with
utilize
other,
that resource for sure.
yeah, and other directors. Christine, I was on the phone with quite a bit. And then she said the 99s we were just stuck with, there was no way to get them out.
Well,
Well, they're supposed to fall off after a certain
after
number of
4
years.
years, are you a 2-year? You're
I'm a 2-year, and right,
Yeah.
they're supposed to fall off after 2 years. And there's a certain
4
group of them.
After 4 years, yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain group of them that they called 99s and they were rolled and we're stuck with them.
Wow.
I've got like 13 or 14 of them.
I feel like this must be a student access issue because I don't know why you'd be stuck with them on the federal side.
Yeah, can you remove them from the download? So that
Well,
they're
yeah, I
only-
did. And that's what's kicking back at me now.
Okay.
Oh, because it's not matching last year as to who was on there or something?
Yep.
I remember uploading my spreadsheet last year and the 99s did come back and I had to figure out how to fix them. And I haven't faced it yet this year. So I don't remember it. I was just looking in my procedures to see if I addressed it, but it's not.
I
popping
fixed
up.
them last year and I can't figure out how, but I've got them all done except for one, and one's been kicking back at me since yesterday.
Oh man, that's
So I just put it away and walked away for a while.
Yeah, that's best.
Sounds like you're so close though.
Yeah.
Have you spent a lot of time with student access this year to see if they can figure out how to kick them off this year?
Nope, I have not called them. I can.
I think you might want to, because if you're continuing to track them, I mean, continuing to report on them, if this keeps happening year after year, that's just so annoying.
Yeah.
To figure out what field is keeping them in there. Well, you stumped us.
I have a related question, but it might be a little bit more basic. This is only my second time doing APR. So for community college, we keep the records for 4 years. So the question is on students that, for example, maybe after serving them for 1 year, 2 years, they graduate, the transfer, exactly what we want. Yay. But do we keep on reporting on the same outcome?
Yeah, you want to keep reporting because they're not going to track your graduation and transfer until that 4th year. So
Gotcha, that
that's where
makes
you want to
sense.
keep them in there. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Michelle, I'm out of the 2-year loop more so, but that's what your understanding is as well, right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
Even if they're Part CD4 students now prior year, you don't have to change anything on those unless something has changed, like they re-enroll or whatever.
Yeah. And then for those that might not transfer right away, you need them to transfer that immediate next fall, or if they transfer within those 4 years.
I just put it in when I see it. They can
Okay.
figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, maximize that transfer when you can. What other questions have been coming up?
Didn't they recently change like about the transfer? Like it was like the first year you're reporting in the persistence box, you can put like, yeah, they transferred, like they graduated and they transferred. And then like, but then the next year you're not supposed to like get to be like, yeah, they graduated and transferred. Like again, you just put they're not enrolled at our institution. Does that ring a bell for anybody else?
It does, because so some of you that are on the call, I sent an email afterwards that I'm arguing with the presenter. And this was one of the ones, but you're right, it is in there. I'm so glad you brought that up. Let me pull that up. Okay, so trying to remember what field that was.
Transfer, it's field 30.
Thank you. I think it was written somewhere more lengthy.
$34 is persistence. Maybe it's there.
Maybe that's where it was. Yeah, thanks. Well, this is where it says use 6 for students who are no longer enrolled at the grantee institution. But that makes sense because that's at the beginning of the next year. Or
Yeah, that's fall term. That's right now. Or the beginning of the academic year in the fall.
yeah. So for a student that graduated in 23, 24, up under graduated or transferred, you would mark them as such. So as transferred or as graduated. But then in that following year, then they would switch and become not enrolled at this institution. Is that the one we're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I was under the impression. Like they're like, you don't get like credit for them transferring twice.
No, I don't change that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well, see, that's what doesn't make sense, because if at the beginning of the year, you would never use these ones has transferred or graduated unless you're referencing a previous year. It feels like not enrolled at the grantee institution and left without getting anything. Like, this is where I was arguing with them on the call. So I can reach back out to try and get more clarification.
I'm confused. What were they telling
But
you?
for persistence, it seems like you need to be listing this as graduated or transferred, otherwise it's not going to count towards your persistence objective for prior experience points.
Yeah, once they graduated and transferred, they've always graduated and transferred. I mean, you're not going to undo either of those two things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think I played around with stuff last year when that kind of new rule was introduced and to see how it affected like the PE points. And I like changed like, one student from, okay, they said now we can't say that they graduated and transferred again. And so I was like, if I change it to, okay, they're not enrolled, at our institution anymore. It was like, it didn't seem like that was the box that affected the objective. If that
That's the
makes sense. It's
persistence.
right, they already graduated, right? So that always happened.
Yeah, but that's going to impact your persistence objective.
Yeah,
So you don't want to put not enrolled because that's meaning that they haven't persisted.
anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I thought that's what they were like saying with like this change is that they're like,
I don't know what change you're saying.
there was something last year. Ugh, I have to find it in like all of
Okay.
our doggone emails.
I know I'm looking right now to look at the email that I sent out to some of the SSS directors to complain about my disagreement.
Not enrolled is for someone who never graduated. And didn't transfer. Even if they did transfer, that's the not enrolled one, I think, because no, number 3 would be transfer without a degree.
Well, I guess
Okay.
that's why we need like get the clearinghouse data, right? So we can see like, yep, like we're like, yep, they went to PSU last fall and now they're still at PSU. So like, why would I put anything different?
Or even if they're not at PSU, they did transfer.
Mm,
You have that,
yeah.
and they're out of your hands at that point, but you got them transferred.
I was looking back at the email I sent, and one of the other things that she had mentioned was that she doesn't enter a date of last service on active students that were served in 23-24, but waits and adds them when they're a prior year participant. But I feel like Bloomin' and Student Access prompt you, or they put it in automatically based off contacts, if they graduated or transferred or left in the 23-24 year, they're going to populate that. Is that correct?
Was that Lisa?
Yes.
Because I remember Lisa saying that and I was like, really? And so
I know, that's why I
tried
was
it,
like, that's
and
why I
it
wrote
came
to you
up
all
as an
saying I'm
error and
arguing
all.
with her. I'm having
Yeah.
full disagreements about things.
If somebody is not enrolled in the fall, you have to have a last service date.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page. Because I was like, the system's going to flag you if they're not in the future persistence, not as a,
And you can take that
Involved.
out later if they come back.
right, yeah. Have you all been able to utilize the technology to do a bunch of the 88888s and the 99999s all as a group entry rather than having to go into each student's file? I feel like Bloomin' and Student Access make that pretty easy with their wizard stuff for like everybody that is this automatically gets these different fields. It's especially easy for the prior year participants not enrolled.
Yeah, I literally just used that this year and I was like telling my team like I'm like sheepish to like confess to you all like doing,
All the time you spent in the past doing it.
doing things a little more
Yeah.
tediously in the past, but also like it's like very important. It's how I was
Yeah.
trained with Bloomin' was to be like, don't be distracted when you're working on this and like if in doubt, close it out, you know, and so, but I also like usually work on it, you know, with our director, right? And we team up on it. So I'm not doing all of it, but we would like split up, you know, and start at one end of the alphabet and the other, and then meet somewhere in the middle. And this year I was like, there's gotta be a better way. And I knew that there was the quick change wizard. So I just sat down and thought about it. And Robin, like you just said, like, you know, it's easy with like the prior year people, like there's different things going on with different cohort years.
Mhm.
So that's how I approached it. I broke it down by cohort year and like, you know, started with last year's new participants. And I said, well, we're going to think optimistically. Those were all like pretty new students probably. So I had all of them set to like all those good things, all the 8s and
Yeah,
still
exactly.
enrolled. And then I still was going through people individually to like check and confirm things, but it made it so that maybe I had to change like one drop down box instead of like all of them. And
Exactly.
we're on Bloomin', by the way, everybody. And you know, I'm kind of like fascinated that Bloomin' is not more like tabbing between boxes and just entering numbers kind of friendly. Like you literally have to just, I can't seem to avoid all the clicking. And so, and that was what I was trying to avoid. So I broke down everybody by cohort years and then I did like, as I went back in the cohort years, like first I did the batch of continuing people, and then I would do the prior year people for that cohort year. And then I went back to the previous years. And so like I got it all done like in like a stretch of like several hours instead of, you know, over a few days because of, you know, we have other stuff going on too. And but now I have to do the moment of truth and do the verification with last year's
Yeah.
file and stuff. So I'll let y'all know if that panned out for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, inevitably, you're gonna get some, I mean, I guess not inevitably, but I feel like most people are gonna get some red back anyway. There's just all those little things where you're trying to answer it as accurately as possible, but sometimes the fields don't like it as accurate as possible.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
always something.
yeah. Has anybody had any issue in getting their financial aid offices to release the financial aid information this year? I'm seeing some nods.
I had to go through individual by individual and add up every section from last year.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So they gave you the information about what was received, but they wouldn't.
It's on our focal, like it's on their ledger sheet. We can all see it, but before that I could just get a printout of what they got for the full year. This one I had to go through term by term, every student,
Oh my goodness.
and divide it up. Yeah.
And do you award grant aid? at
Yes.
your- Okay, so then you had to subtract that out or keep it separate?
Yep.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It does sound like a lot of work.
We appreciate you.
This is why celebrating the completion of the APR is always so exciting. Adrian, at your institution, what were you saying was happening there? Something similar?
think Fitz might have more of a better thing, but yeah, they just
Oh,
kind
okay.
of not give us.
We won't get any information, zero. It's just they're digging their heels in. So we're, know what we're gonna do, talk to other folks, maybe put zero, I don't know what we can do. Honestly, there's no way to really look it up, so.
Yeah. Is this something we could reach out to the program officer and say that the institution isn't doing this? Do they
Yeah, I
have,
was gonna go to Shalita, I thought about doing that actually.
yeah, just see if Shalita has any language that's like, this is a required field. I mean, at least it's not connected to prior experience points or
Right,
something, but it
very
still
true.
makes your APR flagged for students having no aid.
Exactly, and all last APRs, we had it for everyone, right? I mean, they were really good about giving to us. It was more, we had to do a lot of work again, but. So.
I mean, if you wanted us to reach out to COE or something before you reached out to Shalita,
That'd be
we
great.
could see if that's coming up nationally as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
Sounds
I'll
great.
do that.
Appreciate that.
Anything else like that coming up for people having a hard time getting any of the information? It was the financial information I was most concerned about, given everything going on right now. I'm just looking at these different fields, trying to see if any of these cause conundrums. I know one of the other ones that was discussed in the webinar was about the grant year. And they were saying to align it with your academic institution, not with the fiscal grant year of 9/1 to 8/31. And that just seemed like the Wild West to do it that way. But I wasn't sure if anybody here is trying that out, or is everybody aligned with the 9/1, 8/31?
Yeah, we tack summer onto the previous year.
So yours starts in summer?
Our academic year does, but we
Yeah.
counted this past summer. We report on that for the APR.
Oh, for as part of 23-24 instead of 24-25.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when I was at SOU, the frustrating part is that they don't award summer degrees until mid-September, so we never counted them. But if we'd realigned it in this way of this Wild West idea, then summer would align within that 6 years. So I can see the benefit of it. It just feels wily. For all our pre-college people that are on here, is there anything that you've been working on in prepping your data that you have questions about?
I was just in the chat saying eerily, I Ginger and I feel like we're poised to take this on since this is Ginger is Kim's successor here. It's been quite the year, but I think we're prepared, but we'll be reaching out to you as soon as we get hung up with anything or have a question.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
That's amazing. Yeah, I see that Ginger wrote in the chat as well. So yeah, I'll share those links out. Oh my gosh, we've already made it almost the full hour. So in addition to sending out links and those resources, especially for the pre-college people that aren't already in it, is there any other information that you would like at this point? For the SSS folks? So I can send out that recording. Some of you have probably already listened to it. And then just feel free to reach out. I love getting stumped, and I'm happy to try and figure out beyond the stumped as to how to unstump us. So please feel free to reach out, and I'm around and I'm always excited to try and troubleshoot. So I appreciate you all taking the time today to come join us for this. And I hope hearing what's going on for other people reassure you about how things are going for you as well.
Thanks, Robin. Appreciate this.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, Robin. Appreciate all your help.
Thank you.
Always.
Have a great afternoon. Wonderful
Thank
to
you,
see you.
Robin.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.